Well, what a Monday. Pretty newsworthy Monday, pretty eventful Monday. This was a day and a Monday Night Raw that I wasn't expecting much from. Didn't think we'd see shit tonight on Monday Night Raw with the draft coming up. Kind of in that lame duck phase before they get cooking again. And these shows, these Raws and SmackDowns, the last two shows have kind of been in the way. Wasn't expecting anything out of Monday Night Raw tonight and decided to take the day off. Not really even going to look at much professional wrestling. We had some weird stuff going on with Aaron Rodgers going to the Jets and Don Lemon and Tucker Carlson and Bam Margera on the run from the cops and all sorts of crazy stuff going on in the regular news. And then as I'm just casually going about my day, getting some errands done, things like that, I see that CM Punk decided to show up at Raw backstage in Chicago. At the same time that WWE is announcing that Triple H is going to have some sort of Tony Khan level special announcement that he's going to make on Raw that is supposedly going to rock the foundation of the WWE. And between those two things happening, I was like, well, I guess I can kiss my day off goodbye. We're doing a live stream tonight. So Raw just ended. I want to know what you guys thought of the show. Give me your letter grades, A, B, C, or D, 1 through 10, and let me know what you think about Triple H's big announcement, the unveiling of the new World Heavyweight Championship that will be crowned at Night of Champions in Saudi Arabia at the end of May. And that was Triple H's big announcement. So you combine that with CM Punk being backstage at Raw. We got the draft coming up, all sorts of other stuff going on. What a weird, weird, weird day. So we are here to talk about it. And it should be fun. So hopefully you guys are having a great Monday. Thanks to everyone who joined me on Saturday for the podcast and last night for the watch along. It was a lot of fun. And I told you guys over the weekend that don't expect to see me tonight. So surprise, we are here because how can we not be here? I don't even know where to start once I say hello to everybody in the chat and read and gauge some of your thoughts on the belt and Raw tonight. We'll probably open up with CM Punk because during the day, CM Punk decided to cruise by Monday Night Raw. Of course, it was in his hometown in Chicago, and he showed up there, and that just baffled me. I think it baffled a lot of talent as well. Feels like it could be just a publicity stunt, ahead of his return to AEW. Since AEW really isn't promoting this, he's kind of getting buzz out there virally, which is really smart. Punk certainly knows how to get people talking, and showing up at Raw has got to be the craziest thing that was not on my bingo card, as they say. But apparently he did meet and say hello and have a physical interaction with The Miz and Triple H and several others. And I'm sure as the next several hours and we go by and we get into tomorrow, we might even hear of more details about this. But we'll get into what we know. I'll read you a Fightful Select article that was posted earlier on in the day about the subject, and we'll talk all about what CM Punk showing up in WWE could mean. But I am tired of talking about Phil. My God, we spent 2.5 hours on the dude on Saturday. I'm over it, but he just continues to make headlines. But hopefully we can balance this with a lot of talk about WWE's new World Championship that they unveiled tonight. I'm lukewarm on the belt. I don't love it. I don't hate it. I don't know what to think, but a lot of times with new championships, it takes a while to get used to them, and sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. I never got used to that spinning championship. I thought that thing sucked no matter how many years went by, but others, some of those belts grew on me. So we'll see if this one is any different. But it was a pretty newsworthy night tonight on Monday Night Raw. WWE definitely moving into this draft where everybody is eligible, including Bloodline members, tag team members. So you could see a big shift in the way the brands are set up starting next week. And we'll be here this weekend to talk about all of it. But before we start getting into this, you guys know the drill. If you are here for the first time, please subscribe. If you're already a subscriber, please like the video. Also, engage with me in the chat. Leave a comment below if you're watching this on demand, because that helps all them algorithms and stuff. You know what I'm saying? And it really helps out the channel if you can just give me those likes. If you really love me, you can support even more super chats, memberships, all that good stuff. Details below, and read up on that. In the meantime, I just want your view and your like and your subscription, and I'm a happy guy. So let's cruise over here to the chat, say hello to everybody that's been waiting. Let's hit those channel members first. Zane G, Chaz Medeiros, Ken Webb, Zach Pauget, Deshaun Robinson, 8-month family member chiming in. So much has happened in the last couple of hours. No shit. That's why we're here. Reese Jones, another 8-month shoot brother. Good to see you, my friend. This has to be why they didn't give Cody the win at WrestleMania, to give him the chance to be the first holder of a new title. Plus, for once, I don't mind the design. I see enough big gold in it. Yeah, we will be dissecting that. It does have shades of the big gold. We've talked about belt redesigns a lot here, especially in the podcast lately. And one of the things that I've always mentioned that's going to be difficult with any belt redesign is that big fucking logo that always has to be front and center of everything. They must smear it across every possible thing that they have, every prop that they have, the wrestling ring, the mats, everything. It's just got to be WWE. So I understand from a branding perspective why they do that. If football players are going to hold their belts after winning the Super Bowl, of course you want your big fucking logo there. That's part of the reality of this that we're just going to have to swallow as wrestling fans. So I knew we weren't going to be able to get the Winged Eagle belt back or the big gold belt back because those WWE logos are way too small. So there's going to have to be a compromise in there somewhere. And looking at the new title, I think it's hilarious that that's the least obnoxious that WWE is willing to be with that logo. It's still huge. And that belt kind of reminds me a little bit of the Intercontinental title, which you guys also know I hate. And I'm not sure how I feel about it yet. But I also, Reese, don't know if I'm sold on Cody winning that. It's not really the same belt as his father. Yes, granted, he would be the first person to hold it, but you know who I think would be a better choice to hold the World Heavyweight title for the first time? Seth Rollins, first guy to win the NXT title. Why not the first guy to win this one as well? Or maybe even Finn Balor, even though Balor does not look like he's going to be in any serious title contention in the near future after his loss to Cody tonight, loss to Edge at WrestleMania. But you think about Balor being the first ever Universal Champion, and he never got a chance to even have that run. You could maybe think about him as well. But right now, based on everybody on their roster and who I think is the strongest, best guy to win that, I'm going with Seth Rollins. And I'll talk more about why in a little bit. But Reese, you might have a point. Max Pokebra is here. So is Ben Espinoza. We have Jay Lambo. I might have gotten you guys a couple of times. Stone Cold 10X. Thank you for the $5. Love the new world title. It looks like a world title and not a toy. That's crucial. I want belts to look like belts. I'm with you. Sean 2018 is in the house. So is Nick Musser and my boy Zach. I'm going to be joining Zach and Thomas probably in the next couple of weeks over on their channel for a collab one of these days, and that's going to be really fun. Zach, good to see you. Appreciate the $5. It feels crummy that they're crowning the first world champion in Saudi Arabia. I know. But what a turn. Who wins it first? Zach, I'm going with Seth right now, but Seth is my pick just, an hour and a half after we've gotten this announcement, so that could change. But really in my mind, my brain went immediately to Seth, mostly because he was the first guy to win the NXT title. And I think him winning this one would be cool. Plus, all the work he did to put over Cody and everything. It just feels like he's kind of earned that. And hell, you could have Seth win the World Heavyweight title. You could have Cody beat Roman Reigns for his title. Then you could have Roman come and beat Seth for the World Heavyweight title. And then you can have Seth beat Cody for the WWE title. Whole full circle thing you could do. You could have a lot of fun with it, and we'll be talking about it. Chaz, thanks for that. Today is me and my wife's 13th anniversary. Holy shit, dude. You guys got married 12 days after I did my first ever video. That is crazy, dude. Congratulations to you and your wife. 13 years is a long time. You've been together that long. You can make it forever. Congrats to the both of you. And glad you're here on your anniversary, man. Let me see. Who else do we have to say hello to? Before we get going here, I think I got most of the channel members. Now I can backtrack and say hello to Rodrigo, Death Shot Society. We have Big MGM in the house. We have Death Shot. Oh, Death Shot already got you. Bonkers LFC. Nick Steele, Crazy J, Andy Linnell, Big J, Tony Curran is in the house as well, along with Painful Life. Who else am I missing? Nate Dogg, Sean Swabby. Didn't even bother to watch Raw. Heard about the new World Heavyweight Champion. It's a consolation prize. I don't know if it's a consolation prize. I think if you put it on Cody, it could be viewed as a consolation prize, but I don't think the belt itself is a consolation prize because it's a new championship. And it sounds like, as we'll talk about here in a minute, that the Universal and the WWE title that have been unified since last year are in fact going to remain unified. And it's going to be the Universal I don't even know what they're calling it. I think they could remove Universal from that completely and just put WWE Championship. But I think it's going to be the WWE Universal title, and the World Heavyweight title is, I think is how they're going to word these things. I don't really know, but it's going to, I don't think it's going to have, they just need to be careful to not book it like a consolation prize. That's why I don't think it needs to go on Cody. I'm kind of against that. But we'll talk more about it. Let me see. Everybody else, did I get Destiny? We've got, I think that's everybody there on the shout outs. We need to get down to business here and start talking about stuff. Now, I think we need to open up with the CM Punk news, because earlier on today, it was reported that CM Punk was actually backstage at Monday Night Raw, got backstage and was mingling around with the talent before being asked to leave by WWE's head of security. Apparently, this was a decision by hearsay, but it was a decision from Vince McMahon, who was apparently making changes to the show remotely, because prior to the CM Punk news coming out, we were also hearing about several rewrites for the show tonight. There was an interesting tag match tonight with Montez wrestling in sweatpants that was supposed to be a segment with several women in it that was scrapped. And we did hear some reports of Vince changing some things and some rewrites and some frustrated talent. But a lot of that kind of was forgotten about once we learned of CM Punk's presence backstage, and once we learned of Triple H's big announcement that, he was going to make ahead of the draft. And it just felt like it had to be belt related, because the draft is going to be a pretty big deal this Friday and next Monday. So Triple H announcing anything here just doesn't really it feels out of place if he really had something major to announce or some bombshell to drop on us. It felt like the only thing it could be was championship belts, because they've been teasing that. There's been hints and rumors about some belt changes, belt redesigns, Triple H wanting to rectify the world title situation and get a champion on each show. WWE's social media today was tweeting out all sorts of posts about posting all sorts of random things about championship belts. What was your favorite design and all this shit? So they were kind of hinting that there was going to be some sort of belt design anyway. Even some of the online reports, I read one from Fightful Select that had some of the talent kind of suspecting that Triple H's announcement had something to do with the championship belt. So once we heard all of that, you almost forgot about Vince's presence. But the CM Punk stuff was probably the most interesting of the day, because he is all set now to come back to AEW. He's going to be returning apparently on that June 17th show at the United Center that apparently is going to be the debut of their new Saturday show, Collision. And as we spoke about on Saturday, everything going on in AEW right now seems like it's still unresolved. There has been no reconciliation or apology or any mended fences yet with Punk, the Elite, Kenny, Jericho. None of these guys. Meetings are scheduled, meetings are planned, but as we've heard so far, we've heard of no reports coming out of those. And it still seems like the whole situation in AEW is a big fucking hot, steamy mess. So we talked about that a lot on Saturday. So when we hear that Punk is at Raw tonight, it's like, what? God, he is really trying to get people talking. And I just don't understand. Like, part of me thinks it's a good PR move because a lot of people are going to be talking about Punk. But at the same time, why are you going to give your competitor, all of this free publicity to the point where people might even be tuning into Raw to see if CM Punk actually showed up tonight, which I don't think anybody thought that he would. But just the fact that he was there is interesting. I mean, this day and age, it's not that weird for talent from the other organization or a competing organization to be backstage, because we have spouses and we have relationships and we have family members that are divided amongst different companies. So a lot of times if a WWE wrestler or AEW wrestler or whatever, if Britt Baker wanted to, come to NXT to watch Adam Cole or whatever, those things are usually okay. Hell, even Cody Rhodes brought Ricky Starks to the Royal Rumble. So usually these things aren't a big deal, but when it's a personality like Punk, and he hasn't been in any WWE environment in going on 10 years now. That was probably pretty surreal if you were there in 2014 when he left to see that fucker walking in your doors backstage. I'd be like, what the hell? So we learned that he was there, and that's all we really learned about it, was that talent saw him. Talent confirmed that he was there. This was not some rumor. Nobody's getting worked, nothing like that. He was actually there. There was video of him in the parking lot talking to Tamina. And apparently when he was backstage, he must have initially been let in by who, I don't know. But to be able to get in so deeply to where he's actually able to have a conversation with Triple H is pretty interesting. It makes me wonder if somebody was like, hey, Triple H, CM Punk's here. You want to go find him? Or if they just literally bumped into each other in the fucking hallway. And if I was Triple H, I would have been like, hi, Phil, what are you doing here? What are you doing here? I'd want to know. I'd be very suspicious of that. But if this is Punk's way of just trying to create buzz and WWE being okay with it, it doesn't sound like any of the conversations that he had with The Miz or Triple H was negative in any way. At least we haven't heard so yet. Well, I guess we'll find out if anything negative went down, but I don't think CM Punk would show up there to cause a problem. From everything that we read about, he was asked to leave and obliged with no problem. He totally understood and left without incident, and it was a totally nice meeting. But the timing of it, this is a company that runs Chicago between Raw, SmackDown, live events, and pay-per-views, I'd say 3 to 4 times a year. Times the 9 years that he's been gone, he's probably had close to 40 or 50 opportunities to show up at WWE at any time, and he chooses now to do it. So there's definitely more to that, and there was a reason, and that was definitely a calculated move by CM Punk, and probably a way to generate as much buzz and chatter about himself as possible, and pretty much just add to all of the already existing drama in AEW, because you have to wonder if anybody in AEW, which I'm sure we may hear about in the next couple of days, are going to be upset with this move of CM Punk. I mean, there's nothing illegal about doing that. If WWE, I guess, was worried about him being a contracted AEW wrestler, which is why they asked him to leave, because of, tampering stuff and fears like that. But I don't know if it's really in wrestlers' contracts that they can't go visit friends or something like that. I don't know where you draw the line with that stuff. But Punk being there and getting backstage was really interesting. So we heard about the conversation with Triple H, and we heard about the conversation with The Miz. Apparently, The Miz and CM Punk were seen speaking to each other for a while, and reports are that they cleared the air with their previous issues, because if you remember, it wasn't even that long ago, a couple of years ago on social media, CM Punk said something to The Miz something to the effect of go choke on a Saudi blood money covered dick, you dork, or whatever he said to him was fucking harsh. And I think, and that was probably just a receipt for CM Punk showing up on the backstage show, trolling Punk for his change the culture thing. So it's probably just a little back and forth there. No big deal. Sounds like the two of them have cleared the air, and that's good. CM Punk speaking to Triple H is very interesting, because Triple H at TV at a Monday Night Raw on a night where he's going to be making a big announcement. You got the draft coming up. You got Vince McMahon breathing down your neck. Triple H is busy. So he must have been able or wanted to at least find time to step away from all the crazy shit he's got to deal with today to speak to CM Punk and at least maybe just have a conversation. I mean, they probably can't talk about too much. You can't say, hey, when's your deal up? You want to come work here? I mean, that would all fall under tampering and stuff. So I'm curious what the conversation was. I'm sure it was less than 2 or 3 minutes. They probably just said a few words and parted ways or whatever, but the two of them have not been on the best of terms either. And there's been a lot of animosity between them. So, maybe this is CM Punk's practice. Maybe he knows that he's got some tough apologies to make in AEW. He has some tough meetings to have where he's going to be seeing people for the first time that he has issues with. Maybe he went to Raw to just get some of that out, get some practice, little appetizer. Let me go clear the air with a minor enemy like The Miz. Let me just clear the air with him and make sure I can actually do this. So if I sit in the room with somebody else I hate, I don't want to fucking kill him. And maybe that was part of it, but I think it sounds like it was all publicity to get Punk some, just online buzz, create his own big deal to show AEW what a big deal he is. Just showing up in Chicago at a WWE event can break the internet. Here's a report that Fightful Select posted just a couple of hours after we got this news. Not much information in here, but I figured I'd read it for you since I saved it. But it says the Fightful Select article reports that CM Punk was backstage at WWE Raw per Talent. CM Punk was backstage at Raw, according to Talent. That's just a repeat. PW Insider was first reported that Punk was briefly backstage at tonight's Raw. Those we spoke to said they got eyes on Punk speaking to Talent, including The Miz, who he's had cross words with on Twitter in the past, those that we spoke to said it appeared that the two were getting along. There was also word that he briefly spoke to Triple H. Several talent had been told that CM Punk was asked to leave by Jim Kelly, WWE's head of security, and Keith Bergdorf, but hadn't been confirmed. Vince McMahon was rumored to have sent one of the orders remotely. Those that we spoke to said that Punk left without incident. Numerous wrestlers in WWE believed the move was a publicity stunt for a return to AEW. There were several AEW talent in disbelief when they heard that he was backstage at Raw. WWE talent were shocked that he got backstage, even though he has a history in the company. We've asked WWE in official capacity about the situation, but we were just told they don't have any info as of yet. So really nothing, no reasons or incidents to report here, and nobody really truly knows how long Punk was there and who he actually spoke to beyond Triple H and The Miz. But just those two conversations alone are pretty damn interesting, and I'm really curious what they spoke about, what was said. I mean, something like that is minor, but in the world of business, you know, just a small 3-minute meeting and a handshake, you know, with Triple H could be a nice little stepping stone or bridge to do business in the future. And maybe that's what CM Punk is doing. Maybe he knows he's going back to AEW to work with a whole bunch of people he doesn't like. He is still under contract to them. I don't know how long Punk's contract goes for. If it was 3 or 5 years, maybe this was a way of CM Punk peeking his head into WWE, saying what's up to everybody, trying to, present a professional kind of attitude towards what the future may hold. And then in a year's time, when his AEW contract is up, he now has some sort of an in because he has seen and spoken to people. But that's just all wild, juicy, dripping wet speculation. None of that is confirmed. None of that is for sure. But CM Punk being at Raw was enough to make me change my mind and come up here and do a review tonight, because that is just all kinds of weird. So we will find out. Excuse me. We will find out in the next couple of days, I'm sure, if there is any fallout from this, if Tony Khan is upset about this, if maybe Tony Khan knew about it. I mean, hell, maybe CM Punk texted him, be like, hey, I'm going to go show up at Raw. He's like, yeah, go for it. Create some buzz, create some chatter online. That could very well be the case, but bizarre story, and one that I was not expecting to read today. And it would only get better because Raw had some big news on it. So what do y'all think about CM Punk and that whole situation? Let me cruise back over here and catch back up with the chat. Yo, Daniel, good to see you, man. Ready for round 2 at the Yard House. Yeah, we need to be doing that very soon, one of these days. It would be funny if Warner Brothers Discovery bought WWE. Well, we know that didn't happen, but apparently they have been eyeballing some of WWE's programming, and it does sound like Warner Brothers Discovery might be interested in acquiring some of that. And if they do, that could make the future very interesting, because wrestling needs to find places to air its content. Wrestling needs to find places to stream. And maybe one day these two properties could wind up on the same network. Who knows? We have no idea. All I know, it's been a crazy day, and it was only going to get crazier with Monday Night Raw. Now, we heard about the CM Punk stuff. We talked about that. We also heard about all of the crazy Vince McMahon rewrites. Apparently, he was making changes to the show remotely that was even frustrating talent to a degree. And as we saw tonight on Raw, it did appear to have a couple of things that were changed last minute. So the show opens up with Cody Rhodes coming out to cut a promo. The boy is over in Chicago. Cody Rhodes is crazy over. I think that might have been one of the loudest whoas that I've ever heard from the audience. Holy shit. And every time I see the reaction he gets and I see the way he carries himself in the ring, he should have won. He should have won at WrestleMania. He should have won. Anyway, it's beside the point now. Nothing we can do about that. And Cody, much to his credit, shows unbelievable bravery. On the very same day that CM Punk enters back into a WWE building for the first time in a decade, he asks a Chicago crowd What do they want to talk about? And CM Punk chants have been heard in arenas around the country for a decade since he left. And somehow they did not fire them up. I don't know how that happened. I don't know how a Chicago crowd, one of the most energetic, lively, and rabid crowds WWE has, or wrestling has in general. Hometown of CM Punk, who was in the very building that all those fans are sitting in right now. And Cody says, what do you want to talk about? And they don't chant CM Punk. I mean, the what chants and the CM Punk chants always come at the most inopportune times. They always suck. They're in the way. They're a pain in the ass. And the one time that the fans probably actually should chant it, they don't. Cody asked them outright, Chicago, what do you want to talk about? And they didn't chant CM Punk. I was blown away. I was blown away, number one, that Cody Rhodes had the bravery to do that. And I was also blown away that the fans didn't start chanting CM Punk. That was really crazy. So Cody goes on then to talk about the Brock Lesnar match coming up at Backlash, the beatdown from a few weeks ago, and what went on last week. And he also started taking his shirt off to show his scar of his torn pec. And the Hell in a Cell match that I totally forgot was in Chicago, right? That match with Seth when he wrestled with half his body torn off was in Chicago. And he shows the scar and he says, you know, this wasn't enough to take me out, and there's nothing Brock can do to take me out either, and just puts over the match. He's then interrupted by Finn Balor. Balor comes out and you immediately knew, oh, good, this is going to lead to a match between Balor and Cody Rhodes. So they talk a little bit of smack to each other. Fans chant, "You suck" at Balor. Balor offers Cody a spot in the Judgment Day, which Cody respectfully declines. And Balor says, well, that's a shame. You should watch your back. And then I think Cody proposes a match, and that match was set for later on. It's a pretty good opening segment there, albeit a predictable one. The first match of the night is going to be a 6-man match with the LWO taking on the Bloodline. Really great finish with a Samoan spike. Who did Solo hit? Did he hit Del Toro? He springboarded off the top rope and bam, Samoan spike right to the neck. Pretty fun tag match opener there with the Bloodline winning. And the Usos have their shot at the tag team titles this Friday on SmackDown, and they were playing a lot into this tonight throughout the episode, because after the Bloodline won, I think it was Jay who got on the mic and he vowed to beat him and his brother to beat Owens and Zayn on Friday, and he dedicated the match to his tribal chief Roman Reigns. And Jey Uso would run into Sami Zayn backstage later on, where Sami is like, you know, what are you thinking, man? Now you're putting yourself, you should be focused on winning these tag team titles back for you, not for Roman Reigns. And you could see like and that's what I still love about this story. A lot of people feel like since WrestleMania, this story has gotten a little bit flatter, and it has, but there is still that compelling emotion and relationship between Jay and Sami that I really like. And it feels so genuine whenever they're talking to each other. And to see the love that Sami still has for Jay, they still love each other, guys. This is a fucking rom-com at the end of the day. You can see it plain as day. They still love each other. Now, later on, after that conversation, I'm going to go down to my notes here so we can just talk about all this together. Jimmy Uso is upset at Jay for talking to Sami. Man, why are you talking to him? Meanwhile, Kevin Owens is also mad at Sami for talking to Jay. So Jimmy can't figure out why Jay wants anything to do with Sami. Owens can't figure out why Sami wants anything to do with Jay. Riddle is trying to be peacemaker, telling Sami that he knows what he's going through. And Sami was kind of like, how could you possibly know what I'm going through? And he's like, because, bro, I was teaming with Randy Orton and I miss him too, and all or whatever he said. And then Sami's kind of like, yeah, that's a good point or whatever. So there's clearly still a lot of issues and care and love between Sami Zayn and Jey Uso. And now Owens and Zayn have to go to SmackDown on Friday and defend these belts. And it feels like, you know, they could be setting up for the Usos to win these titles back and Owens and Zayn to be separated in the draft. They might do that because Night of Champions is in Saudi Arabia, and Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn don't work those shows typically unless some change has been made that we're not aware of. They're probably not going to be there. And also, correct me if I'm wrong, I think is the entire King and Queen of the Ring thing just been completely scrapped? Because every time I've been talking about Night of Champions, I'm still assuming they're doing this tournament, but I don't think they are. It sounds like it's just Night of Champions now, which means they probably are going to have every championship decided or defended on the show. And if that's the case, we probably are going to have new tag team champions on Friday, although maybe not. There's no rush there. Night of Champions is not until late May. So you can still run with Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens for a little while longer. That's what I hope they do. I hope we do not see a title change on Friday. I think it would be more fun if the Usos were to lose and have to explain that to an angry tribal chief, a man that just found out that he's no longer going to be the only champion in the company anymore. He might be a little bit ornery. And that will be fun to watch Roman punish Jay or Jimmy or both for this loss, and could help transition Jay into that singles run that we feel like he's on the cusp of. And maybe Friday could be the birth of that. You know, if you tie in the Usos' loss with splitting them up in the draft, I mean, you might send Jay over to Raw with Sammy and then keep Owens on SmackDown with the Bloodline. They could do something like that. So I'm going to hold out hope that we are not going to see a title change on Friday, because I would really hate to see WWE have to call audibles or change things in their best story because of some stupid show in Saudi Arabia. I would really hate to see that show affect creative. So I'm not feeling a title change yet. I think a lot of fans might be, but so far I am not. I'm more interested in the dynamic between Sammy and Jay, and Sammy really feeling like still he really wants to rescue Jay from the Bloodline. It seems to be a big motivation and a contributing factor in what he's doing. And you can tell that Owens doesn't like any of this. Jimmy doesn't like any of this. And it should play in interestingly to how, or it should play in an interesting way to how they lose or defend these tag team titles, with Kevin Owens already after this, reunion and honeymoon with Sami Zayn is already starting to get a little bit distrusting of him and all of that. So we'll see how they move forward with that, and if Triple H makes any sort of additional announcement regarding the tag team championships, because we still have 2 sets of those, and those need to get worked out as well. So I feel like we could see something like that on SmackDown. We could see, I don't know, maybe a double pin or some sort of double finish to where Triple H says, okay, we have 2 sets of tag team titles again. Usos, you're the champions of SmackDown, and Sammy and Kevin are the champions of Raw, or something like that. That way you can still have a tag team title match at Night of Champions without Owens and Zayn being there. I don't know. I feel like they could go in a million different directions, but that was one part of Raw tonight that I liked, is the continuing story between Jey Uso and Sami Zayn, who have really been the nucleus of this whole thing right from the start. And to see that continuing on, and should lead to something else for Jey. Maybe on Friday he begin much like we're expecting probably Montez Ford to do. Maybe Jey begins that singles run. We don't know. So that was kind of all that happened between the Bloodline and Owens and Zayn throughout the night. After the opening match, we had a Bianca Belair interview backstage. Damage Control showed up, and Bayley basically issued a challenge for a 6-woman tag later on if Bianca can find 2 partners. So Bianca said, no problem. Then we get a Trish Stratus interview, which was really weird. She did an interview with Kathy Kelly that was only about 30 seconds long, and she just reiterated what she said. They showed a big video package of the history with her and Becky and the lead attack and all of that. And Becky is still not on Raw. She's been taking time off. And Trish basically just said that everyone should thank her for opening up the door, and Becky never thanked her. And the whole promo was just like 30 seconds long. But what cracked me up is they flew Trish in for this. They flew Trish in and did what had to have been a couple of hours of makeup, because Trish looked amazing. And to fly her all the way to TV, put her through all that stuff, stick her on TV for 20 seconds and get out of there just makes me wonder what the fucking point is. But it was it was still a good little interview with two of my favorite people in WWE, Trish Stratus and Kathy Kelly. And it remains to be seen what Trish and Becky are going to do. I mentioned on Saturday that I think it would be best for this SummerSlam match that we keep hearing about between the two. I think it would probably be best for that to be the blow-off. And maybe we get a Becky and Trish summertime feud. They feud it. Maybe there's not time to do anything at Backlash now, but if they can get a match in either Night of Champions or Money in the Bank or whatever the other one is, and maybe wrestle a match, maybe even two, probably one is most realistic, and then have some sort of stipulation or blow off at SummerSlam that could be a retirement match or a loser must retire match for Trish if she wants to come back and have one last final program against WWE's top women's star, because she already worked with Charlotte a couple years ago. So it just depends on what Trish wants to do, but I kind of feel like SummerSlam won't be the first match between Trish and Becky. I think it'll be at the very least the second. And in a very strange match, the Street Profits defeated Shelton Benjamin and Cedric Alexander in a match that really did feel thrown together. Like, what was the point? Somebody pointed out to me on social media that Montez was wearing sweatpants, and Sean Ross Sapp, when he gave an early rundown of Raw plans originally in this spot, there was some multi-women segment planned backstage with Piper Niven and others. And when that didn't happen, we get this match instead, and it wasn't even long. It literally looked like an exhibition. You didn't even know what the point was. Everybody was calling it in the ring. It looked like it went about 4 minutes. Big frog splash from Montez onto Cedric for the win, and that was that. And Montez, was wrestling in what looked to be sweatpants, which means he probably wasn't planning to wrestle, and he had to go on the fly. But I still think even if he wasn't booked to wrestle, he'd have his gear with him. So I don't know where his gear was, but it was a strange match that was very quick and completely booked to fill time for whatever reason. Don't know if that's Vince McMahon's call or not. I think one of the problems with this looming threat of Vince McMahon is that anytime any sort of questionable booking decision is made, the fans are going to go right to blaming him. And we've seen that already in the last couple of weeks. Fans are getting all uppity and they're very, very, very angry. And I just say to these people, there's nothing you can do about it. So just don't expend too much energy, because what can you really do at the end of the day? And I think it's silly to have a knee-jerk reaction anytime you see something questionable in the booking to immediately blame Vince as if Triple H is perfect. Guess what? He ain't. He hasn't done everything perfectly at all. I'm still very, very way more comfortable with Triple H and very happy he's there over Vince McMahon. But let's not pretend that Triple H doesn't fuck up every now and then either. I think he made a colossal blunder on night 2 of WrestleMania, and he hasn't done the women any favors at all. The tag team division sucks. The women's division in general has arguably been worse than before he took over, and there's a lot of issues there. So not every single problem we see is going to be attributed to Vince McMahon. I think it's a little short-sighted to think that way. But overall, I'd still much rather have the Greenwich Blue Blood than the Greenwich Nutcase running things in creative. And speaking of Hunter Hearst Helmsley, we get him next out for the big announcement. They promoted this on social media a little bit before the show, and they hyped it heavily during the show that Triple H was going to have an announcement that they said, and I quote, will rock the foundation of the WWE. So I was asking people on Twitter, I said, what do you think would really rock the foundation of the WWE other than something championship belt related? This whole time it felt like it absolutely had to be a belt or championship announcement, because what else could it be? The only other thing it could be that would really rock the WWE's foundation is if he brought CM Punk out there. So we knew that wasn't going to happen because Punk was already gone. It was going to be something about the championships. And props to WWE's camera crew, because Triple H was in the ring cutting his promo for a couple of minutes before I even noticed the belt podium. So the fans knew what was going on. They knew we were going to get a new belt, but I don't think the fans at home did. I did not notice this until Triple H walked over to it and unveiled it. So Triple H begins his announcement by talking about Roman Reigns. He said, what I want to talk about is Roman Reigns. I'm like, here we go. And as soon as he mentioned Roman, I'm like, okay, we're going to get 2 championships. Let's see how he's going to do this. And we've speculated for months about different ways WWE could achieve this. And one of the things I said was they would just take one of the belts away from Roman Reigns, but it sounds like they are honoring that unification. And Roman is going to keep both of his belts, and I'm hoping Roman gets a new belt. So Triple H talks about Roman, talks about the hitting the 1,000 day mark, which he is very close to, and them creating this new championship now allows him to do that without stripping him of the Universal. He goes on to put over that, but he then says that the WWE Universe basically deserves 2 championships, and when we have the draft this week, whatever show Roman Reigns gets drafted to, he will go there and he will stay there, and he will be the champion of that show. Whatever show does not get Roman Reigns will be crowning a new heavyweight champion. And oh, by the way, here's the belt right here. And that's when he walks over to the podium that I didn't see, and he unveils the new World Heavyweight Championship. And I don't have a picture of it here on the screen. We've all seen it. You guys all saw it tonight. And it looked like kind of a version of the big gold that looked like what they were trying to, maybe that's what it was inspired by, but I don't know how much it really resembled it. Let me see if I can get this on the screen here. There we go. So this is what we're looking at here. This is the new belt. And, you know, it's not bad. Some fans have said they've really liked it. I saw a lot of positive comments about the belt on social media. A lot of people do like that it resembles somewhat the World Heavyweight title, and it does. It looks a little bit like the AEW title as well. It's got a little bit of that vibe. And I don't think it's an ugly belt. It's just, I think in my heart of hearts, I was still hoping that we would get something a little bit more traditional. And I said that a modern redesign of older championships is probably the best we can hope for, but I was hoping it wouldn't go this far. I think once this belt is around the waist of somebody, it's going to grow on us. Also, I think with Roman's 2 titles, if they present him with a new championship belt also, and Roman's got a new belt, and this is the other belt, and we have 2 belts, I think it's going to be easier to get used to this one. And I think around specific waists, this belt could look really good. Now, I don't love it because it reminds me a little bit too much of the current Intercontinental title design, which you guys know I hate. And I've also been, I've always loved the old classic designs, and I was hoping we would get some of those back, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen with the IC now. And now we've got this new World Heavyweight title that does look a little bit like the big gold, but not that much like it. And I think it's just going to take time to get used to it with this. And trying to figure out what this means, it seems like this is now going to be the second incarnation of the World Heavyweight title. So basically what I was thinking Triple H was saying at first is that they were going to take one of Roman's belts, the Universal title, and this is the new Universal title. So if Roman got drafted to SmackDown, they'd take the WWE title from him. I'm glad they're not doing that. Roman Reigns is going to be recognized as the undisputed WWE Universal Champion, I guess is what they're calling that belt. And this one is going to be the World Heavyweight Championship. Now, I just hope that on Friday during the draft that Roman Reigns is presented, or after he's drafted anyway, might take a week to get something like that done, after he's drafted, to give him and present him a brand new championship. I think that's what you need to do, so you can have him with 1 title and the other champion and the other show has 1 title. And the question I asked to you guys is, which show do you think Roman Reigns should be drafted to? Where should this belt be crowned? Should this new belt be a Raw belt, the champion of Raw, WWE's 30-plus year running episodic cable TV show, or do you crown the new champion on your network show that has more eyeballs on it ratings-wise? What's the right thing to do? Where should Roman go, and where should this belt go? A lot of times in drafts, they're meant to change things up, and we've seen Roman Reigns on SmackDown basically since he returned. It feels like a move to Raw for Roman Reigns could be possible, and then SmackDown could have a brand new champion. But I also feel like you might want to keep Roman on SmackDown and take somebody that's currently on Raw and give them the World Heavyweight title. And that's why my first pick to win the World Heavyweight Championship is Seth Rollins. I think he'd be the perfect guy to win it. He Roman Reigns has not even been able to defeat Seth Rollins on pay-per-view. Seth had those great matches with Cody. He won over Logan Paul at WrestleMania. Seth's been on a roll. He's probably the most over his character has ever been. And he was the first guy to ever win the NXT title. So if it was up to me, I'd have him win this. I don't know if Cody is the right guy for this. So many questions we have to think about. Where should Roman go? Where should this belt go? And who should win this belt? That's a lot to try to unpack because, there's a lot of people you could make a case for. And I think the only one that I'm kind of against is Cody. And I did see, I think Reese and a lot of other people I saw online were kind of jumping to the conclusion that, they didn't let Cody beat Roman at WrestleMania, so they're going to give him this instead. I don't think this helps the championship to give it to Cody. I think it would be a nice honor for Cody to be the first person to hold that and to hold the World Heavyweight title, but it's not the same belt that his dad wore. That's not it. Cody already got that moment. Remember, he got that All In when he beat Nick Aldis for the NWA title. In terms of the big gold, that pipe dream's gone. The belt that Triple H unveiled tonight, it's really hard to trace its history back to that big gold. To me, those are two completely separate championships, two completely separate belts. And I think it would be better for Cody to win the WWE title because that's the belt that his dad couldn't win against superstar Billy Graham. And that would mean more to Cody's legacy, I personally believe as a fan, than winning this new World Heavyweight title. Now, they could still give it to Cody and it could be a great moment for him and all of that. But I personally don't want Cody's first WWE championship to come in Saudi Arabia. I love this idea of Cody winning the title in Madison Square Garden. Love it. There is a SmackDown scheduled for Madison Square Garden in July. Is there not? You have Cody win the Money in the Bank. He calls his shot on the next TV, comes out with a briefcase. I am challenging you, Roman Reigns, in Madison Square Garden on July, whatever the fuck. Assuming this show is after the Money in the Bank. Hopefully it is. Might not be. I love that idea. And winning it there in the same building that those Dusty and Graham matches happened, that would be so much more meaningful to Cody's career than winning some brand new championship in Saudi fucking Arabia. So I am not supporting the idea of Cody winning it. WWE might have Cody win it. I just kind of hope they don't. And I know that sounds crazy because I actually don't want Cody to win a championship. I wanted him to win at WrestleMania, but I don't want him to win this one because I think it would create almost too much controversy. You'd hear that consolation prize shit where if you gave it to Seth, Seth's a credible champion and Seth is a guy that Roman has not beaten. If you give it to somebody that Roman has beaten, then it looks and it feels like a secondary championship. And there's nobody really left on the roster right now that Roman hasn't beaten. He's slaughtered and smashed everybody, including Brock Lesnar, a bunch of times. Seth Rollins, on the other hand, even though I think Roman has beaten him, Seth Rollins has some big wins over Roman Reigns himself. Remember the night before Roman got suspended, Seth Rollins beat him clean for the title. It's happened before. And then when they faced other times on pay-per-view, like that Royal Rumble a couple of years ago, I think Seth got a DQ victory. So he kind of has Roman's number, and he would be viewed probably the closest thing in WWE at this point to Roman's equal if you put the belt on him. So I am all about Seth winning this thing. He currently has no real direction, right? He's got to face Omos at the pay-per-view for some reason, but this could be something for him to do. He's not in a feud right now. So instead, Seth Rollins, he's set up perfectly. He's set up perfectly. Just the other day, somebody was like, oh, they're just throwing him in a match with Omos. Like, what's the story? Maybe this is just some big opponent for him to beat and come out on Raw. And then they're going to have to do some sort of series of matches, right? It's probably going to be a tournament style, which is why that King and Queen of the Ring shit is probably scrapped, because they're already going to have enough tournament matches or elimination matches to get to the finals of whatever World Heavyweight title match you're going to have. All Triple H said is we're going to crown a new champion at Night of Champions. So I would assume that means there's going to be a series of qualifying or tournament matches on TV leading up to that, unless they attempt to do all that shit in one night, which might be fun. I'd be perfectly down with an 8-man tournament, qualifying matches for the next few nights on TV. But then it really wouldn't be a Night of Champions show because you'd have so many tournament matches that weren't for championships. So I don't know how they're going to structure it. I don't know what they're going to do. But it feels like right now, Seth, if he doesn't have an opponent, now is a perfect time for him to have his series of matches that takes him into Saudi Arabia at Night of Champions to win the World Heavyweight title. And then as soon as he comes back on TV, boom, he's got a program with somebody for the championship. So I feel like the table is set for Seth. Am I forgetting any other major person that would be a good candidate to win this thing? Bobby Lashley's a name that comes to mind, but as much as I love Lashley, I think Seth's a better fit than Lashley. Balor I like, but if you gave it to Balor, you would basically just be giving it to Balor as, oh, sorry, what happened to you in 2016? And even though what happened to Balor back then did suck, it wouldn't be worth sacrificing some other great shit you would do just to give him the belt because he deserves it type of thing. I think that Seth Rollins is the only guy I can really think of right now that would make the most sense to win that title in Saudi Arabia. I'd want it way more than Cody Rhodes, and that's what I'm rooting for. Cody, I think the story for him is to beat Roman. He had Roman beat. He had his number. He was down, and Roman knew it. And if Cody's probably going to want to rectify that, especially if he goes into Backlash and beats Brock Lesnar like we're all expecting him to do. So after that, I don't see Cody just forgetting about Roman Reigns. Cody's even the type of character that might even graciously decline being in some sort of tournament. No, I want Roman Reigns. But I don't know how Cody's character would really do that. And I don't know how Cody Rhodes' character gets another title match against Roman Reigns, without a Money in the Bank briefcase or whatever. So I think that the story with Cody is to continue to chase Roman. I think Cody at this point should be the guy to beat Roman. And Rollins can then in turn be the first guy to hold that new World Heavyweight title and kickstart its legacy, which I'm actually excited for because honestly, I feel like the Universal title has been cursed from day one. As soon as they brought out a red version of the belt that they already had, and then the first champion gets hurt, and then Brock Lesnar holds the damn thing hostage for so long, and then Goldberg beats The Fiend for it. This title is garbage. Absolute garbage. I'm glad it's gone. And like I said earlier, if we're going to get a new World Heavyweight Championship, we really do need Roman Reigns to have one belt. It's going to look silly if he's out there holding two, because then you're going to be like, okay, how many fucking belts do you have? And I was doing the math earlier tonight. I think this is the 6th recognized WWE Men's World Championship that they've ever had. They've had the WWE title for their lifetime. They had the WCW title in 2001 that was defended and won and lost on TV. Then they had the World Heavyweight title in 2002. Then they have this world title. They also had the ACW title in 06 through 2010. That's 5. Thought I had 6. I missed, and then the Universal title. So WWE title, WCW title, Universal title, 2 World Heavyweight titles, including the one unveiled tonight, and the ECW. So I think that's 6. Now, in 1997 and 1998, they brought in the NWA title. In 1991, Flair brought the big gold from WCW, but I don't know if those really count. Maybe the NWA does, but I don't really count that as a major world title in WWE. But it technically was. So they've had a lot of championship belts before. It's kind of interesting where this belt is going to sit in its lineage. And now we have a brand new championship belt with a brand new lineage. And I think having Seth Rollins at the top of that list, of a modern day belt being created in 2023, to have, a modern wrestler win it, somebody that's already put, 10 plus years into WWE and has created one hell of an iconic Hall of Fame career for himself. I can't think of a better name to have at the top of that title lineage than Seth Rollins. He's also on the top of the NXT one. It would look good on his career legacy. So I am probably going to be obnoxious about my belief that Seth Rollins should win this title until we get to Night of Champions. So if you don't agree with me, sorry, I apologize ahead of time for probably driving you nuts, because I just think he's the best guy to win this thing. And he is who I am rooting for. Let me go over here to the chat because I have lost y'all. There we go. You're back. All right. Y'all could hit that thumbs up button for me. I would really, really appreciate it. That would be a big, massive help. Let's cruise back to the chat and see what you guys are talking about in terms of Seth Rollins and this new championship belt. Yeah, Zane, I will. Zane says, talk about the Chavo and Rey Mysterio situation. I don't know much about this. I can't. At first, I thought maybe this was a kayfabe thing, but Chavo has been tweeting out some shit about Rey using Eddie's name to profit and all of this. I don't even know what to make of this. Rey and Eddie were close friends. If I lost a close friend like that and I was still wrestling, I'd be tributing him all the damn time. Profiting off of it would be the last thing on my mind, but Chavo may feel the way he feels, or this is a kayfabe situation where Chavo is going to come in and help Dominic. I wouldn't be surprised there. So I always thought Chavo and Rey were cool. I don't know what to make of it. I'm holding out hope that it's a work and it's kayfabe to maybe get Chavo in the company somehow to do something with Dominic and Rey Mysterio, because that seems like something that they would say in a wrestling angle. Like if they brought Chavo in and turned him heel and aligned him with Dominic, can't you see Chavo saying that on the mic? Rey, you're just using Eddie's name to profit. They would make him look like a bad guy, right? So I feel like that could be kayfabe, but I'm also speaking with zero knowledge of this. All I've seen is the tweets. I haven't seen the context. I haven't seen what any websites are reporting about it. I'm just guessing because if it's a work, that's our best case scenario. That's what we want to hope for. Fans who are so hell bent on being right and calling things correctly have whack ass priorities. We should all want this to be a work. All of us. You shouldn't be hoping that it's not a work just so you can be right. That's insane. We should hope that these two guys have not had some sort of falling out, because that's heartbreaking. So I hope the whole thing's a work, and I hope Chavo is on WWE TV real soon, backing up Dominic. That's what I hope. And maybe they're planting the seeds after the draft. If Judgment Day is split up and Dominic has no allies anymore, you might need one. Chavo might be that guy. So that's what I'm hoping is going on there, Zane. But hell, it could be legit. Just don't know. Yo, Ronnie, good to see you, my friend. Welcome. I'm glad you're here as well. Alex Bryant as well. A few more channel members chiming in as I've been flapping my gums. JW says the bloodline will crumble soon, Greg. It will crumble soon. Well, we know that. There's been cracks in the bloodline forever. One thing I am nervous about, though, is that even though the bloodline is probably going to crumble and something's going to happen, I don't want the draft to do it, like I don't, and Triple H and WWE's made it clear that the draft is open to everybody. The bloodline can be drafted apart from each other. And I'd hate for them to be broken up that way. I'd rather see the faction organically break up, with Jey Uso finally being fed up with being abused or anything like that by Roman Reigns. And it kind of ending that way, ushering Jey perhaps into a singles run, which I think he'd be phenomenal. We saw what he could do when Jimmy was injured and those matches he had with Roman. There's a main eventer in there, and it would be nice to see that get out. But I don't want the draft to do it. I want the implosion to happen naturally, but we'll have to wait and see how that happens. But yeah, I do think the bloodline is ripe for a fall and could probably wind up tying into how Roman Reigns eventually loses that championship. Rodrigo says fans booed that title in 2016. I think they kind of did when they unveiled it. Didn't they go boo? I remember calling it a big red Gucci purse, because that's what it looked like. This obnoxious fucking red handbag. Like, what are they doing? Ugh. It's that logo, man. It's the logo. No, Braun Breaker's not going to. I will not. No, not Braun Breaker. JW is wondering if a 45-year-old man who's been watching wrestling for, I don't know, 40 years now, 39 years, he wants to make sure I know it's scripted, because I might not know. Yeah, Jay. Deshaun Robinson, thanks for the $2. Roman has the blue Universal belt. He stays on SmackDown. He could, but he also has the black WWE title. I don't even think he's going to be holding that blue Universal belt much longer. I'm hoping they're going to give him a new belt. And if you noticed, the World Heavyweight title did have the black strap. And I hope that is getting away from the color-themed belts. It was so stupid that WWE did it, and then AEW turned around and did it too. I'm like, what is it with you guys with the red and blue belts? Knock it the fuck off, because when you start naming your belts after the network you're on, what happens when you're not on that network anymore. And I don't know what AEW is going to do if they ever wind up on, on the golf channel. They're going to have the golf belt. I'm like, what the hell are they going to do? WWE, same thing. They even had to change the color of the Universal from red to blue because it switched shows. Just make it a black strap and call it a fucking day, or make it a neutral colored strap. I hate colored straps. I prefer black, but I know a lot of fans do like colored straps. So fine, make it white then. Just make it something to where you don't have to change it because it's on a different show. And I don't think the belts that these guys have is going to guarantee where they're going to stay. You know what I mean? Like, I really think that Roman could easily move to Monday Night Raw, but I also see a scenario where he stays put right on SmackDown because he's a proven entity. He's a proven ratings getter, and they can continue to ride that tribal chief wave on the blue brand while WWE crowns a new champion over there. I kind of do feel like that's the way it's going to go, but they might throw us a curveball, man. I don't know. I don't think anything's definite, but I do feel like Roman's going to stick around over on the SmackDown. Spaz says Cody Rhodes, Finn Balor, Seth Rollins at Night of Champions. So a triple threat. I'm an old school guy. I don't want a brand new championship to be determined in a triple threat. That's kind of a silly pet peeve to have. I don't know why I have that, but I just feel like if you're going to have a new champion, it should be crowned in a more traditional way. Have a set of qualifying matches or a tournament where you got two guys fighting for it. But they did, I guess they didn't crown a new champion, but after Finn Balor got injured, they did the 4-way, right? That was when Kevin Owens won. It would be cool if they tried to recreate that finish somehow, but I don't know how you do it. You wouldn't have Triple H come out and pedigree someone to help Kevin Owens win now, but it would be cool if Owens could somehow recreate or do something similar to where he wins that belt in a shocking fashion. Still one of my favorite Monday Night Raw title wins in history, even as much as Mick Foley over The Rock in 99 was that one in 2016, just because of the emotion and what appeared to be genuine shock on Kevin Owens' face. So much shock, in fact, that myself and many others online that night were wondering if it was, if he didn't know. Did he not know he was going to win? Because he literally looked like he was shitting his pants out there. It was so good. So if Owens figured out a way to get in there somehow and do that again, that would be fun. But maybe that can be a future win for him, because now that we have 2 titles again, or we're about to, that means people like Kevin Owens can get runs that they are long overdue for. It's going to be interesting. Yeah, 7th SCN says the same thing. Rollins versus Balor rematch for the title would be cool. I didn't even think about that because Balor and Rollins did wrestle at SummerSlam that year, and Balor won. So you just do it again, but this time you have Seth win. You could totally do that because Rollins is who I picked to win this thing anyway. It doesn't really matter who his opponent is. So if you do a tournament and it turns out to be Rollins and Balor, you can play into their previous match. Hell, maybe even have Balor come out as the demon, but then that would give Finn Balor 2 demon losses in a row. And I don't think we need, maybe even more than that, if you trace it back to his Roman match. But you could do a rematch there. That actually would be fun. I wouldn't mind it at all. Alex Bryant mentioned Braun Strowman winning the greatest Royal Rumble championship in Saudi Arabia. I would like to not say Braun Strowman's name whenever discussing this new World Heavyweight Championship. Let's make it a rule. Let's keep his name away from this title belt. If we could. Spaz Phoenix chime in with 550. Thanks, dude. Love to see Balor win it. Balor won the last new belt and lost it the next day. But also, Judgment Day was something like that to brag about. Yeah, then it would be Balor and Rhea. I would be all about that. I picked Balor to beat Edge at WrestleMania, and he didn't. And if he did do that, boy, Balor would be way higher on my radar right now. If Balor would have beaten Edge in that Hell in the Cell match, he'd be a guy I would be talking about a lot right now, because I felt like the return of the Demon beating an icon like Edge would be the perfect thing to launch Balor into a really strong singles run this summer. And man, what a missed opportunity. You could have had Balor go on a run beating Edge and maybe not even doing the match with Cody tonight where he loses again, but just don't have him lose and have him tear through that tournament and Seth tear through the tournament. And then you have this match again, Rollins and Balor. Only this time, the other guy wins and nobody gets injured, which means everybody wins. And it would feel like closure because that Universal belt just never felt right. And I'm not the only one that feels that way, right? Like you guys feel the same way. It just never felt real, that belt. Even when Roman won it and he's been holding it for so long, that belt has just it's been weird ever since it showed up. So if we now get rid of it, but we still have that, that looming memory, that lingering memory of how the belt was created and that disastrous first match where Balor got injured, you redo it here with a brand new title. And this time it goes off without a hitch. This time we have a successful coronation for a new champion. He doesn't get hurt and can kickstart this belt off properly because the Universal title was doomed from the very first day. So it would suck so bad if it happened again, but let's just hope whoever wins the World Heavyweight title at Night of Champions does not get injured in that match. Could you imagine them coming out on Raw and having to do that again? Oh my God. So we need to get back to the rest of Raw here. Let me just knock out these other supers real quick since we're on the belt subject. Deshaun, 2 more bucks from you. Chavo just put a couple of tweets. Interesting. See, I don't know if I can really properly discuss this or give opinions on it since I don't really know the context, but I feel like if WWE was going to bring Chavo in for any reason to be a part of the Dominic storyline, this is exactly the type of shit Chavo would be saying. But maybe Chavo really believes this. I just don't think he does. I think it's a work, but I don't know. All right, let's get back to Raw. So after Triple H's big belt announcement, we'll circle back to the belt stuff and talk about it, but let's at least knock out the rest of what happened on Raw, which wasn't much. After Triple H's announcement, we get that 6-woman match that was set up earlier on in the night with Bianca teaming up with the women's tag team champions. Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez joined Bianca to defeat Damage Control. I barely paid any attention to that match at all. Babyfaces won. Good for them. After that, we had an Austin Theory promo, came out and talked shit. Then Bobby Lashley came out and talked a little bit more shit. And Bobby reveals to Theory that he was the one that requested the triple threat match at Backlash between Theory, Reed, and Lashley. And Theory says, you can if you have matchmaking abilities, where was your match at WrestleMania? That was kind of good. I'm not a big Austin Theory fan, but that was like, ooh, he got you there. He got you there, Bob. But there was a brawl that ensued after they talked shit to each other. Bronson Reed came out, helped Theory take out Bobby Lashley, and then Reed attacked Theory and gave him the big tsunami splash from the top. That was fun. Held up the U.S. title. I would love to see Reed win the U.S. title. I would. I really would. I don't think he's gonna, but hell, man, he'd be a fun champion just to have for a while. Since Theory feels like he's really fallen off a bit after the John Cena match. After that, we got a little one-on-one match between Chad Gable and a new attitude Ali, Positive Ali, that he's been peddling every week. And he's really over the top with it. It just seems like another gimmick in the revolving door of ideas they've had for Ali. He gives it his all. Sometimes I even think that Ali's doing a Shawn Michaels 2005 sell with these. Like the company's constantly giving him shit. So he's just going to oversell it. And I feel like that's what he's doing here. I feel like he's Shawn Michaels to SummerSlam 2005ing this gimmick. And it's pretty funny. He's pretty good. And he won with a quick roll-up over Chad Gable. Otis and Misty Carmichael, whatever the girl's name is, was on the outside of the ring, kind of distracting him, and Ali got a quick surprise win over Chad Gable. After that, we got the Balor and Cody match, which I think we have seen. At first, I was like, have we even had Balor and Cody yet? But I think we got it back in January. And this was a really good match. Always fun to see these two guys against each other. But in the end, it was a crossroads that did Balor in. Cody wins, of course, because he's not going to be dropping any matches right now ahead of his match with Brock Lesnar. But another loss for Balor, which makes me wonder with all of these losses, if maybe they are going to split Judgment Day up and maybe Balor's going to go back babyface. I don't know. I'm not done with Judgment Day yet. I don't need them split up, but it really seems like they are setting the table for a Judgment Day split. And that's unfortunate because I could go with it a little longer. You guys might have to fill me in if I missed anything here in the Seth Rollins promo. This is when I started getting ready for the stream, setting stuff up, and I was just kind of eyeballing it. Rollins came out to the ring because he was announced to face Omos on SmackDown in a really baffling announcement. So Rollins comes out, and the first thing he does is look at the World Heavyweight title, which remained at ringside after Triple H's announcement outside of the ring on the podium. And he looks at it right away, and the fans are like, ooh, yeah. Now, I had tweeted out a whole hour before that Seth was my pick, but I kind of think the fans didn't think that until Seth got in the ring and like, oh, yeah, he should win it. And they immediately started chanting, you deserve it, which I love. Omos came out. I know some words were exchanged. I heard Seth Rollins tell Omos that he was going to make him famous. I don't even know if a scuffle ensued. I don't think one did. And the promo was over. I walked out of the room, came back, and it was commercial. So I don't know if I missed anything there. Just looked like a little bit of shit talking between the two guys and to set up their match at Backlash, which is kind of weird that this one is happening. And like I said, I'm hoping it's just, just a little bit something for Seth to do before he starts entering into these qualifying matches or whatever he's going to have to do to get into that World Heavyweight Championship final. I mean, at the very least, Seth's going to be in the finals of this thing. At least that's the way I feel. I feel like he's going to win it, but if he doesn't win it, I feel like he at least has to make it to the championship match, So if I missed anything there, let me know. And then, of course, in the main event was the scheduled match between Damian Priest and Rey Mysterio. But I hate these predictable-ass matches because all week long they've been advertising Bad Bunny for Raw, who is going to respond to Damian Priest kicking his ass, putting him through a table a couple of weeks ago. And all night long, they're showing Bad Bunny's status. He's at the airport. He's on his way to the arena. Why is WWE doing business with people that don't show up until 2 minutes until the show's over? That's unprofessional. They should fire Bad Bunny. So Bad Bunny, is on his way to the show all night long. So by the time you get to the main event, it's like, well, this is stupid. We know what's going to happen. Bad Bunny's going to come out. I thought he would come out and help Rey Mysterio win. But what happened was Rey Mysterio ended up winning via DQ. So Priest gets DQ'd. There's literally 2 minutes left in the show. It's 58 past the hour. And then Bad Bunny's music hits. He comes out. He picks up a kendo stick and he attacks Priest, starts wearing out Priest with a kendo stick. Priest retreats and Bunny gets on the mic and says, I think he's standing on the announce table and says that at Backlash, he's not hosting Backlash anymore. Now he's fighting at Backlash, and it's going to be Bad Bunny versus Damian Priest in a street fight. So here I thought Bad Bunny was only going to be involved in Backlash with Rey and Dom after what they set up at WrestleMania with Bad Bunny yanking the chain out of Dominic's hand and all of that. It's going to be a full-blown match with Damian Priest, and it's going to be a street fight, and Priest kind of yells back at Bunny. He goes, I'm Damian fucking Priest. I'm going to kill you. And that's kind of what I said. I mean, a street fight, Bad Bunny, he's done well. When he's got in the ring, we loved his match at WrestleMania a couple of years ago, but this guy is not Logan Paul, and he does not have the same ability as someone like him. And I don't know how good a street fight is going to be. And I don't know if I really want to see Bad Bunny beat Damian Priest in a street fight because he's gonna. So I'm hoping that I've never even heard a Bad Bunny song. I don't know anything about Bad Bunny's music, but I know that he's a megastar. So perhaps there are other big megastars or maybe some famous people from Puerto Rico that are in the crowd that the fans and the locals know that can help Bad Bunny beat Damian Priest. Any other musical acts? What's fucking Carlos Colon up to these days? Get somebody like that out there. I don't know. So wherever they go with the finish, it can't be Bunny just beating Damian Priest in a fight. Can it? It can't, right? I feel like Damian Priest is going to terribly, terribly injure Bad Bunny. Something awful. So I feel like Bunny's going to need some help. We could see Dominic and Rey and more people get involved in that. It's definitely possible, but now it's going to be straight one-on-one. After all the history that Priest and Bad Bunny had, now they are going to be in a street fight. So Bad Bunny, I hope he's careful and I hope he stays safe in this match because it could be rough. Could be rough for him. So anyway, that was Raw in a nutshell. The matches and everything taking place on the show was almost secondary to all the news going on behind the scenes with the CM Punk presence in the backstage area earlier on in the day. Then the announcement that Triple H was going to be making a company-changing announcement on Raw, which of course was the unveiling of the new World Heavyweight title. It was a busy, busy day on a day that I wasn't expecting to be this busy. So what do y'all think of that, man? What else do you want to talk about? Give me more opinions on the championship belt. Who else other than Seth would you be okay with winning it? We got to consider the draft because we don't even know where everybody's going to be yet. So I'm assuming that after the draft, that's when Triple H is going to announce how we're going to figure this out. We'll probably have to get on the other side of Backlash. So you'll have the draft Friday, then the draft Monday. Monday will be the go-home show to Backlash. They'll probably do a lot of shit on Friday night as well leading into that. But by then, the draft will be over, so everybody will be on their shows. So that's another weird thing when you have a draft on a go-home show to a pay-per-view. How many times has that been done? That kind of doesn't make sense either. It feels like the draft should come the night after a pay-per-view, right? Why is it coming before? This kind of drives me crazy a little bit. But after the draft, you could have a lot of these matches, featuring stars from opposite brands. And if Triple H is really going to attempt, because he said in his promo a couple of weeks ago, this is going to be a game-changing draft and all of this. So maybe Triple H wants to take this one a little bit more serious, but then again, he can only take it as serious as the old nut job will let him. But if Triple H wants to make this draft a little bit more legit, and at least for the foreseeable future, try to keep these people separated until things get stale or you need a reason to mix them again. But as we've seen in other years, WWE does a draft and then a lot of times they don't even honor their own draft picks and then they just make random changes because they rethought shit or Vince had a change of heart or something. And these drafts are so flimsy and meaningless and stupid to where I'm kind of anti-draft, just like I am like the Hall of Fame now. You guys have just ruined it for me. It's lost all of its magic. So maybe Triple H can bring it back and the new draft combined with new championships can maybe breathe some fresh life. I'm kind of sick of asking for new Raw and SmackDown sets. WWE is going to streamline their production and make it as cost effective as possible. So just going with the big screens and the ramp is probably all we're going to get. But it would be nice if the shows did have some contrasting identities, where one show felt different than the other one instead of just one's red and one's blue. I think that's so fucking lazy. But beggars can't be choosers. And I think one step at a time. Right now, we're in a WWE without Vince McMahon in full control. Yes, he has control, but not full creative control anymore. So many fans fly off the rockers about Vince McMahon's involvement. And I keep trying to remind people that at least be happy we have this, because without him being busted for that hush money crap, we'd still have him wreaking havoc on WWE behind the scenes at Gorilla, screaming at everybody, ripping up scripts, making the wrestling world a living hell. So at least we are removed from that. Vince is still going to have input. Do you think you're going to get rid of Vince overnight? It's going to be a process to get rid of this fucker, and it's going to take years, but the steps have begun. It's time to start looking at this thing in a positive light. Vince, yes, might have some control, might have some influence over his son-in-law. It's not like Triple H and Vince McMahon don't know each other very well. They probably talk on the reg, so it's not really that far-fetched. These two guys are going to have conversations, and Vince is going to have some input. It's still better. It's still better than where it would have been had none of this bullshit scandal with Vince came about, because he would be right there making everything suck and suck bad. So now it just doesn't suck as bad, but it still sucks sometimes. So sometimes there's not a reason to fly off the rails, just at least be happy for what we got. It could be worse. I know it sounds crazy sometimes, but yeah, it actually could be worse, especially in WWE. You could have Carlito show up. That would be a good one, Deshaun. Appreciate the $2. So much time has passed. He'd get a hell of a pop in Puerto Rico. Well, Alex, Carlito is so mid. I don't think Carlito's mid, and he certainly would not be mid in Puerto Rico. You got to remember where they're going. You have Carlito do a run in fucking Minneapolis, maybe nobody will care. But Jesus, man, his dad was kind of a legend. And I think that fans would get a kick out of that, having Bad Bunny having friends in the business that maybe Priest wasn't expecting. So that would work. I think Carlito would be awesome. Either way, Bunny is going to need some people to help him out. Super J Cena, appreciate $2, dude. Need a new star. Don't see Seth winning the title. I do. What do you mean? Define new star. What do you mean? What do you mean? New star. What do you mean? Why would a new star be the only option to win a world title? Like, if you're going to be creating a new championship, you want a high caliber name at the top of your wrestling title history and lineage. Now, granted, if you gave a new star that title, they could turn into one, but it's not always about giving it to a new talent who deserves it. Sometimes you need to kick that title off right. Sometimes if you're going to create a new world championship, you need to put that championship around the waist of somebody who's capable and trusted and has been in these situations before. That's exactly why Chris Jericho was the first AEW champion and not Adam Page. This is the same thing. And I think with the new championship, it needs to be around somebody who can get the title off to the right start. Then after that, anybody can win. But I think it's short-sighted to think that it has to be somebody that's never won the world title before, or it has to be a new star. I don't even know what you define as a new star. Like, WWE's got plenty of stars. And if new star, you mean somebody who hasn't won the world title yet, well, that could be anybody. And those people aren't necessarily new. There's been people in the company 10, 12 years that haven't even sniffed the world title. So I'm not even really sure what you mean, Super J Cena, but I do know that your opinion is a common one. And it's one that you're probably going to see a lot, because I think a lot of fans are kind of programmed to think that way. Oh, it needs to go to a new star. Not all the time. There are plenty of scenarios where, oh, this is a perfect opportunity to launch a young guy or whatever, but not every situation is like that. Bret Hart won the first ever King of the Ring right off of a WWF title win. Nobody was bitching that it should have been Tatanka. Oh, it should be a new star. Enough of Bret already. He was just world champion. Why is he going to win the King of the Ring now? Give it to Tatanka. Nobody's saying that. Put the world championship around a world championship caliber wrestler. And right now, I personally believe on the roster, Seth is the best guy for this title. But, let's say they do what Super J Cena says, and let's say they put it on a new star. I still don't know what that means. But if you put it on a new star like Dominic, I think that would be awesome, because I love Dominic and he's a great heel and he would be so obnoxious with that title. You might be onto something, Cena. I changed my mind. Put the belt on Dominic. Metalhead for life. Metalhead 2968 for life. Thank you so much, dude, for that $5. Celebrating the first super chat from you. Good returning viewer here. Thoughts on worst looking title in any promotion in history? Well, Metalhead, a lot of my listeners know the championship belts I hate. Off the top of my head, top of my list, Public Enemy #1 for Greg, the spinner belt. I absolutely hated it. I thought it was an abomination and didn't even resemble a championship belt. I didn't even know what the hell it was. Hated that thing. Don't like the current Intercontinental title at all. And there have been some belts in history that I haven't loved, but none that I've really hated. You guys can throw me your ideas for like super duper ugly belts, but ECW had some good looking belts. I liked most of WCW's belts. I liked their television title. It's hanging back on the wall there. I loved the big gold. The US title looked pretty good. They didn't have ugly tag titles. Their belts were all pretty memorable and fun. Of course, the 24/7 green clock is disgusting. I'm glad that's gone. Was never a fan of really any of the WWE hardcore championships. But I can't think of any that I really despised or disliked in wrestling, because when I was younger, ECW, NWA, WWE, WCW, those titles I have fond memories of because I was young, and that's when you create all your best memories. So I don't really find myself disliking those. I think most of the belts I don't like now are modern ones from the last few years, but I'll be happy to take other suggestions on that. And then Deshaun, I got yours earlier. So let's cruise over here. I want to see what this is about. See if I can pull up Chavo's okay, I'm following him. Chavo's. Oh yeah, he tweeted 19 seconds ago. Real quote, real issues draw real money. Jerry Jarrett. Okay. This is how a heel should tweet. Hook, line, and sinker, he says, I still got it. Okay. Okay, so Chavo, it seems like just in the last few minutes is admitting that he was trolling everyone or working everyone. And that's what I said earlier. He's got to be, because why would he be coming out and attacking Rey now? And as fans, this is what we need. Or we need to hope that there's no issue between the two. But people are accusing him as he's pussing out of his own statement. And I was, what's going on? I have no, like I said, I have no context here. I haven't read in any of the stuff. So I don't know what he's trying to accomplish or what he's going to do or what he's trying to do. But if I read about this, I'm sure I'll be able to figure out pretty damn quick. And so will you guys. So let me know what you make of all this Chavo mess. But I'm a little bit, I'm not informed enough to talk about it because I don't know what the fuck's going on. I have to look at this. And it's hard to do that when you're streaming and shit, you know? All right. Let's get back to where we need to be. All right. What else are we going to talk about before I get out of here? Super J's chiming in with two more. Why did I know you were going to say this, Super J Cena? Thank you for $2, my friend. Spinner belt, my favorite belt of all time, hater. Well, I'm not that much of a hater because there's a picture of me on social media right now with the spinner belt, spinning it and grinning like a bitch from WrestleMania weekend. I took a picture with it and I was happy. I just hate the belt. And I think it's ugly as hell. And then he chimes in with two more to tell me that old people hate on the spinner belt too much. Only one O in year two, but that's okay. I tweeted the other day the same mistake, so I'm not going to get on you for your spelling. Old people hate on the spinner belt. Yeah, because we're wise. Older, wiser people are going to hate that spinner belt. Man, that thing's ugly. Thing is ugly. That thing will never be hanging on my wall, ever. Victor Colon, good to see you. If Walter says he cares about restoring history to the IC title, then throw the IC title that he has now in the trash and bring back the classic IC. I know. I just don't think it's really that easy anymore. I mean, if anybody would be able to give us belts that we remember or redesigns of old designs, it would be Triple H. I think this is really the best case scenario. I think we see that with the World Heavyweight title, the new championship that they unveiled tonight. This is probably going to be as good as it's going to get in terms of that branding logo being front and center on fucking everything, and especially your championship belts that could be held at Super Bowl championship ceremonies in front of zillions and zillions of people all around the world. And of course, you're going to want your logo there. It's understandable. It just sucks, but that's what the reality is. So I'm hoping that Roman's new belt, assuming they give him one, they better. Otherwise, it's going to look really silly. I'm hoping that Roman's new belt also looks badass. I hope that the Raw and SmackDown tag team titles either separate back out or stay unified, and maybe Triple H makes another announcement and says Owens and Zayn, wherever they get drafted, they're going to stay there. They're just like the same situation Roman's in. And then you unveil yet another set of tag team titles, which if they unveiled another set of men's tag team titles, then I'd be completely lost, because I got gummed up there like 20 years ago when they created the SmackDown tag team, or they created the WWE tag team titles. They already had those. Then they created the World Tag Team titles, and then those got flopped somehow, and the tag team title situation confused the hell out of me until they changed it to Raw and SmackDown tags, which they have then since unified again. So maybe Triple H makes WWE undisputed Universal Tag Team Champions and World Tag Team Champions, just like the World Heavyweight title. Maybe that's what he's trying to do. And hopefully tonight is only the first step, because there are still issues with the title belts. I'm hoping that this is just the first thing that Triple H does before giving Roman one belt and giving Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn one belt and fixing anything else you need to fix and get that done. And you have to think about the women. Are they going to continue with that red and blue bullshit, or are they going to get some redesigns? It would be nice if we got redesigns all across the board, but maybe it's something that they don't want to introduce all at once and it's a gradual thing. That's probably the best way to do it anyway. Bianca's coming up on milestone. She's held the belt for over a year. You could have some sort of ceremony where you give her a new championship. But again, it's just going to be a different version of a belt with the logo in the middle. And maybe it's something they don't need to change up. Maybe the women's belts stay the way they are. And with Roman, if they're not going to give him a brand new championship, like a brand new belt redesign, then I think the blue title at the very least needs to go away completely. And Roman just carries the black WWE, which represents both championships moving forward. Maybe on SmackDown on the draft, Triple H takes the blue belt from him and says, there's really not a reason for you to have this anymore. You're still the champion of it, but we just want the one belt, and we're going to send this off to the museum whenever we open up our physical Hall of Fame. It'll be in there. But it would be even cooler if Triple H, because it would be weird for Triple H just to take one belt away and say keep the other one. So I feel like it would make more sense for Triple H to do what happened to him back in 2002. You take both belts from him and you give him the new undisputed whatever the fuck they're going to call it. So I hope that still happens. And if it does, the next couple of weeks of TV should be interesting because we've got the draft coming up. We haven't even talked about the draft in terms of who should go where, who should move, but it's really hard to think of that when we have Backlash coming up on the horizon. So I don't even know who's best off where. Imperium winning tag team titles would be cool, especially if, imagine that. Ooh, imagine that. So if they were to separate out those tag team titles again somehow, or create new champions or something, and you have Imperium win the tag titles, but you also have the Usos win back the tag team titles, and then you got the Usos and Roman with their 3 belts, and you have Gunther and Imperium with their 3 belts. Whew. You put that 6-man together to headline some B show pay-per-view. Oh my God. That would be like Wyatt family and Shield. Be like the same thing, maybe even better or as good. Oh man, I'd love that. Jay Lambo agreeing with Super Cena on the spinner belt. I'm so sorry. I know there's probably a whole bunch of people that watch and listen to me that love the spinner belt, and I just shit on it. And you guys stay loyal. Nice. That's very nice of you to put up with my nonsense. Thanks for that. Max Pokebra, maybe Edge wins the new world title. Maybe. I wouldn't want him to, but he could. Again, it would accomplish a lot of the same thing that it would accomplish if Seth would win. It would put a big name at the very, very top of your title lineage. But Edge just tweeted out a photo tonight of him and Christian at the hockey game, and there have been some talks of Edge maybe going over to AEW. So I think if Edge was going to win the World Heavyweight Championship, Triple H would want assurance from him that he was not going to be going over to AEW. Because I think if Edge were to win the title at Night of Champions, then I feel like he should drop it and pass the torch to somebody at SummerSlam and then retire after that. So I kind of don't want Edge to win, but I wouldn't be completely against it because I think you could do worse, and Edge having that title is one little final hurrah. You know, he's winning. He's going to be the first guy to hold a championship that's going to live on, hopefully forever. I mean, we thought that about the Universal title, and it only lasted less than 7 years or 6 years. So if Edge is on the doorstep of retirement and he has a chance to begin the legacy of a title that could very well outlive him, that might be a nice thing for his legacy too. So I'm not totally against it, the idea of it, but Edge would have to then come back. We don't want another part-timer with a championship either. We already have that in Roman Reigns. So, you know, Seth is attractive to me because he's full-time and he can just be there every week doing his thing. So I'm still going with Rollins. Super Cena's got 2 more bucks. I say LA Knight is the right man to win the title. So that is a good, I guess, example of a new star. The only problem is LA Knight is kind of a new star, hasn't been in the company that long, but he's an old star, you know, and he's in his 40s. And if WWE is going to put the title on him, it would have he'd have to be like on the trajectory to that. You know what I mean? And even though LA Knight is awesome, and I definitely think he needs to be in world title scenarios and programs, I feel like he's so far removed from that right now. There's almost no time to get him as a believable contender. But maybe that's what the point of the draft is. Maybe one of Triple H's projects, once the draft is done, is to stop fucking around with LA Knight and give him something meaningful to do while you still have time to get that out of him before he, you know, gets too old, you know, because in his mid 40s, you know, fucking walking up the stairs hurts for me sometimes. So I can relate to some of these guys being this age. You're not going to be able to go, you know, at the pace of a Dante Martin or somebody like that who can just wrestle like maniacs. And LA Knight has got a lot of potential, especially on the mic, and he'd be great in the main event scene. Austin Theory turned things around pretty quick. Maybe they could do something similar with LA Knight where he just starts kicking ass, like immediately on the draft, wherever he lands, whether it be Friday, if he's just drafted to SmackDown that night and he stays there, he goes out there and kicks somebody's ass and wins a match. If he's drafted to Raw, he kicks somebody's ass on Raw, wins a match, gets on the mic and says, I'm not fucking around. I'm here to, and I mean business, and I'm not playing games. And he starts winning. You put him in these qualifying matches or these tournament matches or whatever they're going to do for the world heavyweight title. And he starts going on a tear and winning everything. And then he wins the title. Sure. But again, LA Knight isn't the name that if I'm in WWE's position, if I'm Triple H, Vince, whoever, Bruce, as much as I love LA Knight, he's not my first guy to hold the title. You can put the belt on him. Whoever the first guy wins, if it's Seth, have Seth feud with LA Knight. No problem. But in terms of the first guy to win it, LA Knight's not my pick. Rodrigo. I wish there was a way for them to surprise us with a Big E return. You know, like if we didn't know he was coming back and he comes back and wins the title on his first night, that would be pretty epic as well. But I'm not sure about any of those other names. Kofi would be good. Big E or Kofi would be perfect names at the top of a brand new championship's lineage. And I think it would be awesome if a black wrestler was the first guy to hold a world heavyweight championship, because that's never been done in WWE and the championships that they've had. Unless you count, who was the first person when they relaunched ECW? Did Lashley hold it first? I don't even remember. But it feels like that would be a first time, and that might be kind of nice too to see that, you know, in the history of the company and see how it's evolved decade by decade by decade. You know, with the women main eventing, and you know, we're seeing more representation in WWE, a lot more diversity and stuff. It seems like it would be something that they could do. I know, yeah, Rodrigo, you're going to keep naming everybody. The only ones that were attractive to me there, obviously Bobby Lashley, because I'm never going to not root for Bobby Lashley to win a championship. But Big E and Kofi as well. The rest of them, no. Just waiting for Rodrigo to put up Otis. Yeah, Otis. Oh yeah, RVD in 2006. I'm stupid. I forgot. I forgot it was RVD. Yeah, Lashley came way later. Yeah, Chad Jones, Xavier Woods. Don't get me wrong, it would be nice. He'd complete what the Shield accomplished with all three of their members being world champion. Kofi and Big E won the title. Xavier has not. But again, even though it would be cool if he accomplished that, I don't want that to be the main reason why you're doing it. You know, yeah, it would be great if Xavier got that, but I think there's almost more to be told. Better story with other people winning it. But you'd love to see it. You would love to see it. AJ Styles would be another guy. He's another good name. I hope he's doing all right whatever his recovery status is at the moment. But he'd be another name similar to Edge, similar to Rollins, that I think would look really good on when you're looking up lists of champions and you see that name first. Looks good. Definitely not Braun Strowman. Otis was your Universal Champion in GM mode. That's awesome. I love that. Big Oats. Is that what we're calling him now? Big Oats? I'm down with that. I'll call him Big Oats. Anyway, I think that's going to be it for Big G. I got to get out of here. I was not even expecting to stream tonight, and we've been going for nearly 2 hours just shooting the shit about everything to the point where I'm kind of losing my voice. Man, we were talking about a lot. CM Punk, Vince McMahon, Triple H, new World Heavyweight Championship, all sorts of stuff going on. Interesting time, and it's going to be a busy week. We're going to be here this Saturday to dissect night one of the WWE draft. The Winged Eagle podcast will be focused primarily on the draft. Then on Sunday, we're going to be watching, I've already decided, we're going to be watching Backlash 1999 because the Sunday after that is the actual pay-per-view of Backlash, and we've never watched the first Backlash. And what better week to watch that than the Sunday before this year's Backlash? So Backlash 99 is set for this coming Sunday. I don't have the link up yet, but I will probably tonight or tomorrow, so keep a lookout for that. And you might hear from me in the middle of the week as well as we get more news and information about the championship and WWE's plans for it and anything else that might have gone down today with CM Punk while he was hanging out backstage at WWE Raw. What a day. I hope you guys have a great rest of your Monday night. Thanks for being here. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button out the door and subscribe if you are not a subscriber. And I will see you in just a couple of days. Have a good one.